Hello everyone, Bradley Sward here. Day 4 solution to the 2024 advent of code. The problem is called Ceres search. We're writing this in Python. Little did I know I was going to be automating a word search. I do strands with my son pretty much every night he's with me, which is a lot of fun. We do all the New York Times games. He's learning a whole ton of words. Uh, he's learning that words end in Y sometimes, I guess. Well, anyway, back to things here. You're given a list of lists, basically, is how I set it up anyway. A list of strings, or however you want to think of, what is all of that. What it's just different variations of a theme, and we're just trying to find the word Xmas in here. How many times can we find it? And in this case, with the data they gave us, the answer was, what was it? Whatever. My answer was 2593 for part one. We'll see that here in a second. But just to say, well, once I find X, I look in all 8 directions to see if I go MAS. I mean, we're just brute forcing the thing, right? Find an X and then try all 8 directions, and how many of them are Christmas, Xmas, who's to know, and then we just move on to the next letter, the next letter, the next letter. And so for part one, this is my code. Oh, that's part two. Here's part one. Here's my code. Let me make sure I get the same number at this point. There's my 2593. That matches up. Yes, it does. And so what am I doing here? I'm reading in my file, so I end up with like a list of lists or a list of strings. I write a function that will get me a list element at a specific location in the X and Y, just to make sure that, if I go outside the bounds, that I return basically an empty character instead of throwing an exception or just crashing my program. And so I return this if I can. If it's inside, I go for it, and if it's not, I return null, or basically a null or an empty character. And then here is where we do all the hard work. I go, okay, here are all the 8 directions, and here are the coordinates for each movement. We either go, this is what, going to the right and down each time. This is diagonal to the down right. This is going positive. You can see the 8 different directions here. And so for each of the directions, when I go and I do find an X, well, I do need to go in each of those directions, and I need to go 3 times over to make sure the next one is an M, then an A, then an S. So this code will do this for every direction and for every offset as I do this. And basically the offset, oh wait, do I even use the offset? Oh, maybe, oh, look at that, I can save a line of code. I don't even think I use this offset variable anymore. I used it at some point, and then, yep, there we go. I didn't need that. So I say for each of the directions, I try each of the time 3 times over, and I go move 1 in the direction that I care about, and is there an M there? And if it's not, then we're done, and we fall out where there's nothing to do. But in each step, if I go and I go, oh, there's an M in the next space, now there's an A, now there's an S, I have my word Xmas, and now I know I can basically come out of this loop, and I can say we're still okay to, I haven't proven this thing false yet, so I'm going to add to the list. And then when I run this over and over and over again, basically 8 iterations for every character in the thing, and whatever 140 times 140 is. Okay, Google, what's 140 times 140?
140 times 140 is 19,600.
So about 20,000, and then you multiply that by 8, so it's doing, it's doing 160,000 checks, and like it does it pretty quickly, I would say, especially considering Python. So there it goes. There's my answer to part 1. And then for part 2, now it's just a little trickier, because you're like, instead of it being XMAS, well, now you're basically trying to figure out a spot where you basically see this, an A is in the middle of everything, and then there's an M and an S on both sides, or it has to be diagonal. That was the thing that threw me. It didn't, I thought that you could have it in a cross, that an X would still be something that's, like with, the using the cardinal directions instead of it just being diagonal. Maybe I just misread, or maybe I just didn't understand, just like the elf is quizzically looking at me. But now what you do is you find an A, and then you look diagonally in both directions and make sure that this one's an M, or whatever these two are, that one's an M, one's an S, and they're not equal in both directions. And you sum that up. And let me just show you that. Part 2 here. That code's even actually less than the other code, excuse me. So here's the code that just does all the same stuff. And now I find an A, and then I get one direction, and I go, is one of them an M or an S? Is the other an M or an S? And are they not equal? And if that's the case, then I can continue my search. And then I just do for the other direction. I go, okay, are you an M? Are you an M? Are you an S? As long as they are both M's and S's and different, I've basically satisfied everything I need to satisfy. And when I run this, I get 1950, which matches up with my solution there. So let me bring up the code one more time here so you can have that for those of you who are interested. Here's my part 2, here's my part 1. And if you have any better way to do this kind, especially this kind of thing, if you know a better way, I'd love to hear it, because right now I just hard code it. But thanks for sticking it out with me as always. This one got done before midnight. Have a great night, everybody. Take it easy. We'll see you next time.